All right, so I have written my trash draft and I've gone over all of my revision decisions. I reread the entire thing. I marked up the text. I wrote questions to myself. I made notes about what should be cut because it's off topic. I made notes about where I should have dialogue, where I should add descriptive language, the fact that the story, my narrative is very small and I need to add detail there. And I made sure I had my message at the beginning. I noticed it's not in the end. I noticed it's not in the beginning. And I underlined it for myself. And so I am ready to start my updraft. The other thing I did before I'm sort of going into my next phase of drafting is I worked on my sensory detail map. So I thought about all those revision ideas after I did my trash draft. I noticed that this is the place where I thought my climax is the place where I thought I could use descriptive language and sensory detail. So I filled in my map for my five senses based on that moment in time, what I was experiencing in that moment as my brother held my son for the first and last time. And so, what did I see? What did I hear? What did I taste? As I conduct my writing process of my updraft, I'm going to start adding in these ideas to frame out, especially that climax moment when I recognized there's not enough content here for the genre, beginning, middle, and end of the story. So I'm going to start looking at what I want to write, what I want to cut, and writing my narrative. I made a title that was just kind of fun and interesting for me. Mine's called Returning Home because it's about my brother both returning to our house, returning to our family, and then returning to heaven, if you will. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to write some content, and then we'll keep talking about my choices. So I've started typing, and as I was looking at my sentences that I'm keeping, I'm not just copying down and typing what I've written here onto my draft. I change my sentences, I change my wording. I'm still making edits to what's in my story, thinking about what I've left out. There's a story about my brother that I think I might add into the introduction, but I have to keep thinking about what's on track towards my message. I have sections I took out. I'm still considering choices as I'm drafting. I'm all the way now up to my sort of climax moment in my updraft. And I want you to recognize that this piece of my writing is still the beginning. I don't move into like the rising action until I'm about right here in my trash draft, this sort of sentence area. These three paragraphs they're short, but they're how I wanted to break up the beginning of my narrative. So it's not how many paragraphs it is, it's how you need to break it up for your writing and your voice. As you read my trash draft that I'll take pictures of and my um, my model of my updraft, you can see where I've made changes in those decisions. So I'm talking about now in my story about how it's kind of the beginning of my rising action where the events start getting exciting. My brother came into town. I need to talk now, I know, in my rising action about how I felt when my brother arrived. I said when I was making my revisions that this would be a good moment for dialogue, and that I'm missing a lot of content right here. So I'm gonna look back at just to remind myself what's going on with my sensory detail and those language choices. What did I feel? What did I see? What could I taste? So I have feel chills run down my spine as I imagine my untrustworthy brother holding my most precious son. So in my rising action, I'm just going to copy this, and I know I want to add this in. So I'm just going to put it here as I keep drafting because I want to make sure that I add that in. And how can I structure this updraft around some of those language choices? So I'm going to continue on writing my updraft using this sensory detail language I have mapped out and really considering how these changes that I've noticed can play into this new draft. Not just copying it, but really drafting something new. I'm going to spend a lot of my time writing in this space to make sure that my story and my narrative has enough impact using my language. I'm going to add dialogue as well with that powerful moment in conversation. And then I'm looking and thinking forward, and my message is probably too long. I already have these 3 paragraphs of like message introduction, context setting, and then I just kind of rant here. So about my like what I need the world to learn, my message. I think, see, I wrote cuts. I'm really thinking about how can I be more critical in my conclusion. So that's kind of me thinking through how I've turned my trash draft into my updraft. We'll keep working through it. Thank you so much.